Good morning to you. It is 9 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock, and we are honored and happy that Congressman Pittenger decided to join us this morning in studio. You know, every time we've ever asked him is, we can do this by phone. No, I'll come in. So we appreciate you taking time, Congressman.
Fun to be here. You guys are great.
You're always fun to talk to, and just so y'all know, a little side bit of information before we start an interview, especially with a congressman or something, we'll say, hey, what do you not want to talk about? Every time he's talk about anything you want to. Sure. It don't matter. Just go for it.
We want to talk about what people are concerned about.
Yeah.
Well, first off, you're going to be around the district and in this area today. You've got a town hall meeting this afternoon. Tell us details about that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to spend more time out here in Union County. We have a town hall tonight. Sheriff Kathy will be there with me, and Commissioner Helms. But just want to hear. I want to listen.
Mm-hmm.
What's on people's minds? What are they concerned about? It's not a political speech at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's to come out and listen and respond and give them my perspective of what needs to be done, particularly on issues related to national security.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of effort and time and focus as chairman of the Congressional Task Force on Terrorism and Unconventional Warfare. So I want people to understand what the issues are, what we're facing in terms of our adversaries, and what we are doing right now to try to protect this country.
And the disconnect between what seems to be the disconnect between the government and the people. I think people just, for some people, it's just as clear as day what's happening, and they can't get an acknowledgement from the, you have people don't want to say the word terrorism. They don't want to say, they're real careful about.
Well, there's one person particularly.
Yeah, President Obama. He just won't say it. And a lot of people are just fed up with it, and won't to. Actually, the polls are showing that's the number one thing on people's mind. That's it. That's top of the piles, national security. That's the right thing to. But you've done a lot in Congress with national. I mean, that's been your expertise.
Yes, sir. 3 years ago, I was approached by the majority leader then, Eric Cantor, who was chairman of this task force on terrorism, if I would like to succeed him in that position, and I said, of course, I would. I have a real keen interest in those policy issues and what we need to be doing. So at that time, we were going through the Snowden revelations and a lot of misunderstanding about what the government is doing and not doing. A lot of misstatements out there. The government, frankly, is not reading emails and listening to phone calls. They've got to get approval from what's called a FISA court. And we have more oversight than any country in the world. But because there was confusion, particularly with our European friends, we invited them over. I did to come. We had 100-plus members of Parliament from 25 countries in Europe, and to come over and really hear and understand what we're doing to try to protect our country. I go down and read all the attacks we prevented, and we've prevented 25 in Europe. There's 75 in this country just this last year, 2015.
Yeah, I wish they said more of that on television. I wish I wish we were, in a way, privy to more of that, because you only tend to hear the bad. You hear about the one that happened, not the 30 that got prevented.
I think we're all going to be scared if we heard about all these different attacks that were thwarted.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off there. You're exactly right. And we want people to live their lives. We're working really hard to try to protect this country. There's a lot of things we can do that we are doing. I work a lot on intercepting the terrorism financing. ISIS particular. ISIS is a caliphate. It's a nation state.
Yep.
They take part of their land that they've been able to control from Syria and from northern Iraq, but they have to provide services to the people, water, sewer, healthcare, whatever, and it costs millions of dollars a day. So to the extent that we can prevent the money from accessing the money, then we succeed. I was just in Egypt a couple of weeks ago meeting with President al-Sisi and getting his government on board with working with our Treasury Department and in their financial system to make sure that they have the technology and the software where they can collaborate with us to intercept the transfer of funds.
Yeah.
So I do this a lot. We're having a meeting with all the South American countries later on this fall to do the same thing. So much has to be done. Terrorism financing, intelligence.
And boy, that had to be a learning curve, because I'm only 40 years old and I don't understand 80% of what goes on in a computer. You're a few years older than I am. That had to be just that, like, whoa, I got a lot to learn. You know what
let me say this. I'm an orchestra conductor. I don't play instruments.
I got you. I understand.
But I know the right people
Yeah.
I need to bring in the room.
That's the key. You got to know who.
You got who are the experts in our government, our military, in the private sector, that we bring them together. And I've had 4 of these forums now. We're having our 5th and 6th this winter, and one in Vienna and one in D.C., and then one, of course, South America. But we must work every country to collaborate. If we're as strong as our weakest link.
Yeah.
And we have to have good intelligence. When the bad guys are trying to do something and they're using the emails or the phone calls, we want to know who they're talking to.
That's right.
So we've got to have the data to support it.
Let me ask you, I got several things I want to ask you about. Revelations that a plane carrying $400 million in cash arrived in Iran as the Islamic regime released U.S. hostages proved that President Obama engaged in a cash for hostages deal. This from congressional Republicans. Sure looks that way.
Blew a plane load of money over there?
Yeah.
Well, it follows a pattern. They've been very disingenuous in how they've conveyed to the American people, whether it's Benghazi or really the entire negotiation with Iran. You know, we paid them $600 million a month for 17 months as a precondition just to go to the table and negotiate. Iran got $12 billion.
Oh, wow.
Just to talk to us.
Just to sit down to the table and talk.
I'd do it for a tenth of that.
Yeah. You're high-priced bread. I'm
that's
not
right.
cheaper than you, friend. So,
I didn't think we paid for hostages.
well, we shouldn't.
We didn't until then.
And they're claiming it wasn't, but, I mean, they were released the same day. I mean, come on.
I got a call yesterday from Pastor Saeed Abedini, a Christian missionary pastor, American and Iranian, who was in Iran, and, of course, he was taken hostage. And I'd worked for his release for several years.
I remember that story.
Yeah, I do
So
too.
I'd flown over there at the request of the State Department and the White House when they were released. Went to Germany and greeted him there and with the other hostages. There was a Marine and there was a Washington Post reporter. And, you know, so he got out. So he calls me yesterday and said, I just got a call from Fox News. They want a response from me. They want me to come on air. I said, you tell your story. Yes, you're glad to be out. But reality now, there's a threshold. $400 million. You want these people released? It's what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, you get 3 for $400 million.
So we've set a financial threshold, and this is wrong. We've been saying to every other country in the world, we don't pay for the release of hostages.
Yeah.
We've been condemning other countries who do that, and there are many countries who do it, and that's how they make their money.
It's not just the $400 million, though. As you pointed out, we've sent billions of dollars in kind of a precondition leading up to negotiations.
They got that money prior to us going. Now, at the negotiation table, if you recall, they got over $100 billion of repatriated oil profits. What are they going to do with that?
Yeah.
They've been the greatest funder of terrorism of any country in the world for the last 30 years.
Wow.
Hezbollah, Hamas, so many terrorist organizations have got their support from Iran.
Yesterday, the president cut short the sentences of 214 federal inmates. 67 of them had life sentences. Almost all the prisoners were serving time for nonviolent crimes, they say, related to drugs. But to just, these are serious felony arrests.
Yes.
Law enforcement did their due diligence. Takes a lot of work to build a case, try each individual case, and then to have the president just come up and, I don't know, it's got to be frustrating for law enforcement.
It has to be. The report hasn't even been released yet by the bipartisan commission to review the sentencing, and the president arbitrarily makes his own decisions on this. We have serial people. We have people who are repetitive in terms of their actions, and a lot of these folks will be back in there again and doing the same thing again. So it's tragic how the president once again takes the law into his own hands, and he determines what's best for America.
Yeah, well, well, I'll leave that there. I have my own thoughts about that, but we often see things done for our own good.
Well,
it's like we can't decide for ourselves, so
that's the Washington elitist mentality. They think they know what's best for you. That's the mindset of the progressive, the liberal, the socialist, whatever you want to call them. They believe they know what's best for America. And you can look at the Obamacare, the Dodd-Frank bill. The Dodd-Frank bill is the Obamacare for the financial system. It's why small business can't get loans today.
Yeah.
Because of the compliance requirements required at the banks. And, I was on a bank board for 10 years, a community bank, small bank. We loaned money to people. We knew who was creditworthy. We knew who had character. There's no box for character anymore.
There's no.
And there's no possible way, I've talked about this, there's no possible way for the federal government to know what the local banker knows about the person who comes in to get a loan. It's impossible.
And they're killing the economy. That's why we're growing at 1 to 1.5% economic growth. Now, so the listener understands, for those of us who are of age, in the 1970s, during the Carter years, we had high inflation, high unemployment, high interest rates, waited in gas lines. And then along came a man named Ronald Reagan. And what did he do? He cut the regulatory environment. He cut the tax burden. And what happened?
Economy boomed.
In 2 years, we took off. We were growing at 6%, not 1 to 1.5%. We were creating 300,000 and 400,000 and 500,000 jobs a month, 1 month, 1 million jobs. The high end of the Obama recovery is 285,000 jobs. That's lower than the low end of the Reagan recovery. It's all because Obama believes the government has the answer. Reagan believed in the people. America is the destiny for every person in the world. As I travel around the world, every country, every person, they revere this country. When I walk up those worn stone steps of the Capitol, and I look at that dome to go vote every single day, and I know what that dome represents: liberty, freedom, opportunity. We're losing that today because you have the takeover of a know-it-all federal government who's trying to be omnipresent, omnipowerful, and come in and control every aspect of our lives. That's what we've got to break.
Well, that's the reason that Archie said this repeatedly, and he's right. No, you take we got a presidential election coming up. We know who our 3 choices are. One of those choices, I'm not saying I agree with it, but sadly, the Libertarian candidate right now is not going to win an election. And there were people making argument that, well, if we keep that attitude, they never will. But truthfully, when you go, you have really 2 choices to vote for. The important part of this election, somebody is going to nominate 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices.
Or 4.
Or maybe 4. And in the last 8 years that President Obama served with Kagan and Sotomayor, look at the court. All you got to do is look. You don't have to. It has no politics. No, just look at the voting record of the court, and that's the direction the country's going to take.
And remain that way for
generations.
Yes,
absolutely.
The decisions this new Supreme Court will make once these justices are retire, whatever, will shape this country for years to come.
Let me tell you, I'm a Trump delegate. I went to Cleveland. I spoke last week in Winston-Salem. I was on his pre-speaking team to before he got up to rally the people. So I'm in there for Trump. He got a lot of rough edges. He's losing by default right now.
Does he make you cringe sometimes?
Well, I think he's a very smart person.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton is a socialist, a total socialist. And look what she's done in terms of national security. We've never been more threatened as we are today.
Yeah.
From nation states, China, Russia, their provocation, Iran. They'll have nuclear arms within 10 years for sure. That's the agreement allows them that. North Korea, he's an idiot, but he has nuclear capabilities. Then you have ISIS and Boko Haram and all these other Al-Qaeda, all these other groups. We've never been so threatened under her leadership, under her mantra as Secretary of State. So there is no question in my mind who I'm going to vote for and who I'm going to support. Donald Trump, frankly, if he loses, he'll lose by default because of saying things he just didn't need to say. We met with Donald Trump. He came to our conference, 247 Republican members. When he walked in the room, we all stood and clapped out of courtesy. because he took the time to come see us, and that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
We spent an hour with him. We didn't hear sound bites. We heard his whole story, what he wanted to do. And you know what he did when he walked in the room? He went over and embraced, hugged Paul Ryan. He embraced our ideas. He said, I need you. He said, I understand the problems of this country, but he's not a man who's in the weeds with policy.
Yeah.
He needs our reforms. He needs our ideas, and he wants them. And he said that. So when he left, what did we do? We gave him a standing ovation out of respect. And yet, I'm with him the other night, and backstage we're talking. I said, Mr. Trump, thanks for coming by the conference. It was really meaningful. You really communicated. You embraced us. You embraced Paul. You embraced our team, our ideas. He said, I'll come back. And then a couple of days later, he said, well, if I'm going to endorse Paul Ryan or not. Okay. Where are you coming from,
so basically, we're getting an acknowledgement from Congressman Pittenger that Donald does have a lot of rough edges.
Listen.
And he sometimes says things even the Congress doesn't understand.
The issues,
but he
knows
the
problem.
Yeah.
He has a tendency to go off script.
Absolutely.
And before you know it, his foot's in his mouth. I know you're a strong supporter of our veterans.
Absolutely.
He got into this gaffe thing with, the guy,
Well, he got
to give the speech, and he pulls out his own Declaration of Independence. I mean, I thought it was well done. I thought it was somewhat scripted.
It was.
But Trump won't let things go. He needs to fix something and move on, but then he'll come out of left field and say something else. It's like every day we're hanging on.
If you slap Donald Trump, he's going to slap you back.
Yeah.
I often say about the difference.
That's a good description.
Well, no, he's a businessman, and he's not used to, nor will he accept losing.
He won't accept losing, and he won't tolerate somebody who is disingenuous, insincere, saying things that are out of context as far as he's concerned that aren't right, and so he'll strike back. And sometimes you just need to be quiet. Really, I understand. I'm a little bit like him.
You know what? I think it's called diplomacy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of it he's got.
I've always said about my wife, if you slap my wife, she'll give you a hug. If you slap me, I'll slap you back. Well, I understand not wanting to take it, but sometimes we need to take it and just let the person, speak their mind and not jump in there and give them the opportunity, because they're baited him. And that's all they're doing.
Oh, the media is baiting him every day.
And the Democrats are baiting him. They know how to strike him.
They are,
They know exactly where to punch him.
Well, listen,
I'll come back.
I told Archie when all this after the convention was over, I told Archie, I said, Hillary Clinton is not a good politician, but Bill Clinton is.
Yeah.
And if he has her ear, she is going to go after Donald. She's going to say things just because Bill's smart enough to know Donald will say something that they'll later turn against him and say he hates women. It'll be something. You know what I mean?
I think they've proven that you provoke him and you'll get a sound bite that may be to your benefit.
And you won't hear the whole context for a second, but you'll hear that sound bite.
You'll hear the sound bite. But
that's his problem.
Before we let you go, we got a problem in this state with we're losing revenue, and I was born here, and I just find it just unbelievable. We have a very small percentage of our population. Nothing was wrong. There was nothing broke, but city council and the mayor of Charlotte decided to fix something that wasn't broken. Now we've lost hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, and we still can't decide.
Yeah. But they fixed something that wasn't broken and blamed the state for it.
And the Supreme Court has now blocked the transgender victory on bathrooms. Mm-hmm. It's just ludicrous. I just can't believe, you hear the adage about the squeaky wheel gets the grease. This is that story. Is it not?
And it's all over the country. What's so pathetic about it, particularly with the NBA, and I wrote the commissioner, Silver.
Good, I'm glad. I really am.
And I got 2.5 million views on my Facebook from my letter I wrote him, and they're all positive. But for him to say they're not coming to Charlotte, North Carolina, when they do business in China, China, where they will take a electric probe and stick it up a woman's private part.
Yeah.
Where they will sell body parts of a fetus.
Mm-hmm.
They will just the human rights, religious persecution. the abuses in that country of people, and we're trying to protect women and children from somebody
I'm
who...
curious, what was their response to that?
He never addressed it. He wrote me back. Said, well, we can't control the laws of a country. Please. They've been having these human rights issues in China for the 30 years the NBA has been doing business there.
Yeah.
And now NBA is, where are they going? Qatar, in the Middle East.
Qatar, that's exactly right.
To sell their products and expand to Kuwait. Homosexuality is intolerable there. It is a crime.
Punishable by death in some countries.
In many countries.
Wow.
You know,
there's no consistency. It's totally hypocrisy in terms of the NBA. And, what are we trying to do? Law enforcement has told me, Congressman, we can't enforce this. We can't prosecute it. If somebody goes into a bathroom and he exposed themselves, and then they say, well, I'm transgender.
Yeah.
Well,
how do we prosecute
the whole thing was, and this was the greatest lie ever told, they sold it by telling us it was an LGBT issue. And if you think about that, the L's, the lesbians, they already used the ladies' room. The G's, the men, gay men, they used the men's room. Bisexual, nobody even knows whether or not they're bisexual.
Exactly.
It's only a T problem. It never was an LGBT issue. It was just a T issue. So the percentage of people is so... They were already... I'm confident in my life. I walked into a bathroom, probably somewhere where there was a woman who maybe decided to live her life as a man, and I never knew it. And it didn't bother me at all. And I don't care. But now, because of Charlotte, it's just, I don't understand it.
It was a solution looking for a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And but why did they do it? They push this out there because it's a diversion politically. If the left can't win on economic issues, on national security issues, then they create these diversions. And this is what this is all about. This is totally politically driven by the left.
Well, and we have an attorney general in this state that refuses to do his job.
Well, he's part of the left.
We got a U.S. attorney general that refuses to do her job. One final. I can't let you go without asking you this, and I know this might not necessarily be your expertise, but I'd love to get your opinion on it. I don't. You're older than I am. You remember a time in this country when civil rights were a real issue, and a man named Martin Luther King Jr. Had real solutions, and he made an impact with people. He did, and he made it in the exact opposite way that people are trying to make it now. What kind of pickle is law enforcement in? Because I don't see any way now for police to do their job. It's to a point now where if you are a certain color and the person that you arrest is, and it's not just always black, and you take your pick. I've never seen it like this. I don't know what we do. I don't know how we stop this whole police are out to kill us, and I just don't understand it.
Let me tell you what they're doing in Dallas. Close to a lot of people in Dallas. After the shootings of the policemen there, they brought the community together. And you know what they did? They brought individuals from the African-American churches to come pray in the white churches. People from the white churches going to pray in the African-American churches. They didn't want their community divided, and this has happened all over that city. Police are out there to protect all of us, everyone, and we need to have their back. We need to be supporting them.
They died protecting the Black Lives Matter protest.
Absolutely, and for those to come after the police and accuse the police, yes, there's a couple bad apples. But that is not the entire force.
No.
I mean, that's our culture. That's society. Yep. That's where we live. There's not every black person honors the law. Okay, so let's be honest and sincere about it. That we have got to stand with our law enforcement. We have got to protect them, and we've got to say to them, we believe in you. We stand for. We ought to be having parades. We ought to be having days to honor our law enforcement in every community. Yeah. And I'm going to be initiating that back in my counties, that I'm going to be representing, that we have a law enforcement appreciation.
I've never been so proud in all my life of being a Southerner as I have the last year or so when that whole deal happened in Charleston and that boy went in there and killed, the media automatically, it became about the Confederate flag. That was the issue. But if people would look a little deeper, the old racist South was was the template for how people should act when something like that happens. They immediately embraced those people.
Yeah.
Black people and white people were together. There wasn't any of that stuff that everybody tries to tell you happens in the South that went on.
And to credit the black people down there, they forgave.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, that's
just
the
good
difference between
people.
Martin Luther King and these people. Martin Luther King was a minister of the gospel. He was a man of peace. He didn't believe in going in the streets and causing riots and ruckus and you know, all kinds of disruptions. You know, he accomplished his objective. And that's what we need today.
From our 9th district, Congressman Robert Pittenger, we appreciate your time as always.
And the town hall's open to the public.
Yeah,
5:30.
5:30 tonight. Please come out
At the Ag Center.
At the Ag Center, Sheriff Cathy will be there.
Okay.
I'll be there. We'll be answering questions. This is not to come here as some boring political message. That will not happen. You come bring your concerns, and frankly, our constituent folks will be there. If you have issues, if you're veterans, or you have issues with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, whatever, passports, visas, number one, call our office if you have a problem. 704-365-6234. 704-365-6234. Or come out tonight. We're here to serve. You know, I deal with a lot of policy issues every day. I'm there to secure this country. But we deal with your issues, your concerns, the problems that you're having with the government. You contact us. We will be there for you.
Thanks, Congressman.
Thank you, Robert. We really appreciate your time.
Great to be with you.